Look, we got to start the video out like this. So, very professional. Can you edit that out? Dean, you got good handwriting.
I saw it, bro.
Yeah, you should see mine. So I'm going to talk to you about some habits of top producers, and then I'll also go over mindset stuff. I don't think we talk about this enough. Some of the things that I've covered on some conference calls previously as well. But first I would say one thing that most top producers have in common is every week they start with a 0, and they understand what that means. So let's use Jessica as an example. She just came off her 28,000, strong month, probably could be very excited about that as a new person and want to maybe feel, especially a mother, wife, etc. She's juggling a lot of stuff, just like all of us though, right? We've all got different areas that we're trying to focus on, but could be a lot of different reasons why she should pause, wait, and take a week off, right? That would make sense. I mean, she deserves it. She wrote 28,000. She deserves a week off, don't you think? Well, what top producers do is they forget short-term memories, whether it happened in a good way, short-term memories, whether it happened in a bad way. They forget the previous week, and they go back to work. And what did she do? She wrote 16,000 this week. Brad's another great example of that as well. 17 apps for 37,000 this week when you did 40 million thousand last week. So I mean, but that's how you get ahead. And the problem is for a lot of you is like you say you're willing, like you like the idea of success, like it sounds good, but you'll protect yourself just enough effort-wise to give you an out. Because if you gave it everything you got and you failed, you would hurt your feelings. Would you agree? For a lot of you, that's why, a lot of us are built that way. Like, hey, if I give it 90 and not 100, at least I can figure out a way to say it wasn't me, it wasn't quite me. So those are important aspects that you need to understand as a top producer. The next thing I would say is you've got to develop your skill set. You've got to develop a mastery for this. A lot of you, I was very impressed with just listening to Luke, for example. There's no question in my mind that Luke has mastered the sale of an HMS 125 cashback. Would you guys agree with that as well? But the difference is, for some of you that have been here for a while, you probably can't explain the living benefits on HMS 125 well enough. And you probably aren't thinking out loud, like, hey, I'm meeting with a single person. How am I going to offer the HMS 125 to the single person that's going to add more value? Well, how are we going to do that? We're going to talk about living benefits, right? When anytime it's a single person, we're going to hammer on living benefits as examples. So that's the part of mastery where it's a thinking person's game, and I don't need you to be paralyzed. I need you in non-income producing hours to be thinking about this. I remember out of college, my family owns the world's largest Dodge Chrysler dealership, and I was doing an internship in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and my college roommate and I were we were football. I'm just trying to give the background, like mindset. We were football players and all this stuff, and like we were still kids because we rented a house and we put our beds in the same room. So and in college we had 2 bedrooms and we like slept in the same room because there was 3 of us in a 2-bedroom apartment. So we figured once the adult came in, we would just have our beds in the same bedroom. So mindset was a little interesting, but I remember literally like dreaming of sales, of clients of customers, like every night going to bed when I first got into the car business. Like I was just absorbing all this information. 10 years ago when I got into this, for example, no different. Like I was excited to meet the clients, to get the opportunity to help them, to get the opportunity to close them, to get the opportunity overall. And I think for some of you, you just figure, you know what, I'm gonna just wing it. You know, I'm gonna wing it and see what happens. And then I'll just, go to the next thing. And that comes to number 3 of habits is you have to have a long obedience in the same direction. So if you have a short obedience in anything, as you know, that's gonna be a problem. You're probably someone that lacks a lot of grit, right? If you're always starting and stopping and changing occupations and, hey, this looks good and this looks great, and you go here, go there. Well, there's only one way to obtain success in anything, and that's just doing the same thing over and over a long period of time and staying committed to it. I think that's the problem for most of us in the room when we're talking about hiring and recruiting, which we're going to give you plenty of tools to there, is since it's not an instant gratification scenario, and it requires a different type of work, your discipline isn't there enough to really do it. So my recommendation in regards to hiring is, like, don't flirt with it, do it the full way. Like we had a gentleman here earlier, Spencer introduced me to. He just hired him, and he's brought 4 people to the meeting. That's how you should start this business, because it is that good. The next thing is, what's very common is top producer will chop wood and carry water every single day. And what's interesting is the person that writes the one annuity. I remember working with several agents early on. I remember this one agent, he's actually one of my best friends. He said, man, I'm just gonna focus on annuities. And I'm like, oh, okay. He's like, yeah, I'm just gonna do those. I'm like, oh, okay. The difference is you have to hit the singles and doubles all the time. Like your activity has to be super high in order for you to find the big commission, right? You've got to run the 25, 30 appointments in order to find the home run that you hit, hit the grand slam and hit it out of the park. Like last year, I'll give you 2 examples. It's usually once a year for me. Last year, I did a IUL, one client, $110,000 commission, annual pay, so like he wrote the check for it, $110,000 commission, target premium in my bank account on one client. That just came from massive reps, right? And that's coming to just keep running your appointments every week. This year, great example, final expense lead of all things, through social insurance. And I found $2.9 million in a house on a final expense lead. Now, if I were gonna say, final expense, you might, you're gonna find, you can find annuity money with final expense, period. I've written plenty of annuity money in final expense market, but you're not going to find as much money as like an EverQuote or mortgage protection, to be clear. But you also get paid really fast. So that's why I'm always attracted to final expense, because I'm getting quick money. It's not where you have a lot of confusion is you need to learn how to make money fast, and that's why you do final expense. You need to learn how to print money in your basement quickly, and that's why you do final expense. So the biggest thing I would tell you is make sure you're running all, like you said, Brad, make sure you're running every single type of lead source. Tiffany, direct mail, right? Final expense. She runs a direct mail final expense. She writes a $650,000 annuity. Why do you run, how many final expense leads can you buy after you write a $650,000 annuity? You know what I mean? So all those little finite details matter. The 5th thing is the work that you do in the unforeseen hours. It's your proper preparation that prevents poor performance. It's your ability to really get great on the phone. We do these Zoom live dials, and the one thing that I've really noticed, and I'll just be honest with you, it's frightening to me how bad the vast majority of everyone is at dialing the phone. And I'm saying this from a very much loving scenario. I think, like I was talking to Sean Mike, I actually think it's a complete epidemic in our industry. That's really where it's at. Like, why do people quit? It's not the leads, right, Brad? It's not the leads. It's really how bad they are on the phone. Like, they can literally not set an appointment at all because you get one objection and you can't even get back into the script to be able to set an appointment because you don't prepare in those unforeseen hours that add up to your success. And there's too many resources and tools for you to have excuses on why you wouldn't become great on the phone. And what I'd really recommend is get around a dial team. If you got to drive 3 hours, if you got to go wherever, you've got Zoom. You can stay in your house, but get around a dial team and have people listen to you. Volunteer to be the next person on your live dial section in your agency. Get the coaching, because it's never, that's what's interesting too, it's never these huge, massive overhauls in your business. All these small tweaks that add up to big changes in your business. Because if you got really good on the phone, like the things Brad do, the reason why he's succeeding, he's texting, right? He's texting. I bet a lot of you don't text. A lot of people leave messages and they get phone calls back. A lot of people might not leave messages. Those are all these little things. A lot of people dial *667. A lot of people dial 4 or 5 times, right? But most people will just dial it once, and maybe dial at the same time all the time, not change up their system, blame it on not picking up the phone, then not go door knock. It's just compounding reasons why you'll never really do it. You never be real successful, which is a huge problem. Will you let me know when I have 5 minutes, just so I don't just raise your hand or whatever? Do I have 5 minutes? 3 minutes? I started late by 10 minutes, but I mean, okay. I'll do 3. I can cut it off. I can cut it off like this. 12 seconds, I'll be off. I'm done. All right. Yeah, exactly. Well, that was great. So, couple final tips that I would give you as far as mindset things. These are actually a couple things I'll even talk about tonight when we do our little business development meeting from 5:30 to 6. If you have new people you want to introduce to business, bring them in from 5:30 to 6 tonight. Domino effects are very important in this business. So you want to get great at getting leads, you want to get great at getting on the phone and setting appointments, and then you get great at selling insurance. And then what will happen is, as you start doing Eagle Premier knockout questions, getting issue paid business, getting paid fast, and we know you start to sell that final expense, then we can start to create a domino effect, because we know you can actually close now. We know that you can actually set an appointment and close. Now that you're doing that, we can start to move to some term products. Once we get to some term products, we can start to ask questions and get into financial inventory about doing annuities, things like that. And you can do it very fast, by the way. But the key is, a lot of times with domino effect is, nobody ever gets really good at that one thing to create the momentum to get to the next thing. Does that make sense, Gabe? So, a couple other quick things. This is a big one for me. I can think of several of you. I'm no different in this category. This will be my final thing I'll talk about. Is, for the vast majority of you, you need to look at changing your identity. Like, seriously, and what I mean by that is, and I'll go with the old traditional, you are who, the top 5 people you hang out with as far as your behaviors, activity, income, all that stuff. So sometimes you need to look at your inner circle, do an audit, and you probably have some distractions there. There's probably 1 or 2 people that you could, quite frankly, eliminate out of your life, and it'd be a very healthy choice for you. So you gotta look at that. That's part of the identity change. But more importantly, what I really mean is, for almost everyone in this room, it's that comfort scenario. So if you're used to running at an 80-degree temperature, right, and you become very successful in your whatever that is for you. So if success is 100K because you've only made 50, that's fine. So you hit 100,000. And this would be my warning to anybody. So everybody's got their own definition of this, but this is it. And I've done it before too, so I'm guilty of that. So once you hit, now you're making 100 grand a year, or whatever the number is for you, you will do everything you can to cool yourself down so you're comfortable and live on that 80-degree temperature. Now what happens in reverse, seeing it happen, I've seen it happen this week with several agents, I was smiling thinking about it, is you get broke, or you know that you have to make money, and you're at a 60-degree temperature. Now guess what? You'll do everything it takes to get yourself back up to 80-degree so you're okay. The difference is you have to figure out and build the new water lines like a fixed index annuity or an IUL, right? You need to figure out a way for you to ratchet up to a new level and then still increase. The dangerous part is the reason why, if you look back at your issue paid numbers, it could be personal issue paid numbers, it could be your agency numbers, if they're flatlined, is that right there. That's your answer. So ask yourself some tough questions and figure out how you can ratchet up. And Brad, you're a great example of that right now. Like, you're literally leveling up now, eliminating distractions, and really giving a lot of people a lot of motivation, a lot of desire, a lot of hope. So it's awesome to see. So thank you very much, guys.